There we go. So hello everyone, and I will just before we start the chanting and meditation, and of course the Dharma talk after that, I'll just mention and remind you that I won't be giving that many details in the meditation, not much instruction in the preparatory stage of calming the body, as well as and for the breath meditation or the loving kindness meditation either. So, but as some of you know, I've been reposting previous videos almost daily for the last couple of weeks or so. And of course, I reviewed them as well. So I'd actually reviewed the next one that I'll post probably on Monday for the 2nd of January. And I noticed that there's very detailed instruction for the meditations, as well as other good info. It was a long class, a little over an hour, I think. Some of you may remember that we got to do longer classes around the Christmas and around the New Year time. So if you want to have more of the instruction, then view this one for sure, okay? And otherwise, just try to memorize all the instructions so you can put it into practice in your daily practice, your daily life. And also it gives us just a little bit more time for the Dharma talk. Okay, so let's do the chanting now. Happily and joyfully, mindfully. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. So now get yourself comfortable for meditation. And first, as per usual, we're going to release any tension that we may have in the body, all the way from the tips of the toes to the tips of your fingers and to the top of your head. So start by releasing the tension from the lower part of your body, from your toes up to your waist. And from your upper torso, all the way up to your shoulders and down to the tips of your fingers. And from your neck and all around your head and your face to the top of your head. And now scan your body again just to see if there's any leftover tension that you can release. And when you've done this, bring your focus to your breathing. Breathing in and out of your nose, all the way into your lungs. And focus on this feeling of the breath as you breathe in and out. If any mental sensations arise, don't cling to them or grasp at them or deny them or try to forcefully push them away. Just let them come and go naturally by refocusing on your breath. And it's likewise if your mind becomes sleepy and dull. Wake it up by focusing more brightly on your breath. Don't judge yourself, don't try too hard, but also don't be lazy. So now we'll practice like this for a few minutes in silence. So now you can feel very pleased with yourself for engaging in the practice, and fill yourself with loving kindness, appreciation, respect, friendliness. Really appreciate and respect yourself by filling yourself with love and kindness. Now this love and kindness overflows and radiates outwards initially to your loved ones, your family and your friends. And also to strangers. And to even those that you may regard as enemies. May all these people also radiate love and kindness. May they have happiness. May they be free from suffering. May they be peaceful and radiate peace. And gradually radiate this love and kindness further and further to now include all of those living beings that are around your immediate area. And still further and further throughout your whole state or county. And other states and counties throughout your whole country. And other countries throughout the whole world. And other worlds throughout the whole solar system. And other solar systems throughout the whole galaxy. And other galaxies throughout the whole universe. Further and further until your loving kindness pervades the whole of infinite space. This infinite, immeasurable loving kindness radiating from your heart to all living beings. Now be present here and now as well, then we'll recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. So you can hopefully be feeling nice and peaceful. Now, of course, I recommend to you that you do longer meditations, if at all possible, than we just did. And also, I extend the invitation to all of you. You can give me some feedback on this slightly new format with the shorter meditations. If all of you want to go back to doing the more detailed instruction, I'm very happy to do that, because I'm not speaking for me. I'm speaking for your benefit. Okay, so you just let me know. But I think maybe at least we can give this idea of longer Dharma talk a little bit of time, even if you're not used to it yet. Okay, so like I mentioned, this week as well as last week and the following week, I will take questions, which I've got a few again, and then I will give the answers for that, or for these questions, and also maybe some related subjects to this, before we go on to the next subject, which is the 6 paramitas, or 6 transcendental perfections. Okay, so the first one came about Mother's Day. And this was a response in Messenger from overseas and from India. And it was talking about, or wanting me to give my take on Mother's Day. Just to let you know as well, this video I mentioned, that has the very detailed meditation instruction that I will post either tomorrow or Monday, 2nd of January, teachings. And this actually speaks about the new year. So maybe you'd like to have a look at that to see what I'm saying about these different special days of the year. Really good times to reflect, isn't it? Now, the specific details of these days, you should reflect with that and then act accordingly as well. This one is Mother's Day. Now, of course, in different parts of the world, Mother's Day may be a different day. But in Australia and some other countries, it is the second Sunday in May. And of course, you know that my mum takes part in these classes as well. And of course, I spent the day with my mum as well. But also, so you can think of your own parent, your own mother, and also father as well. Of course, in Australia, I think it's September sometime. I think 1st or 2nd Sunday in September is Father's Day as well. So you respect your parents. Think about it. You think about when we were born. We were born due to the connection of our parents. Of course, the conditions we're born into comes from our own karma. And the fact that we are born to these parents that we call mum and dad, or mother and father, is due to our own karma and karmic connections that we have with our mum and dad. So, but if you think about it from a physical point of view, a human baby is helpless. I'll say to you again, I'll remind you, some of you know this one. I accidentally said useless one time. And somebody took umbrage to that. It's not useless. The baby is not useless. The baby is helpless. Okay, so without the love and kindness and the care of the parents, the mother especially, because the mother is the one carrying the baby in the womb, inside the body. And without this, even this period of gestation, I think we call it, the 9 months, 9 solar months or 10 lunar months, that the baby is inside the mother's body, there is so much kindness being given from her, obviously giving the physical body, giving the care, and also from the father's point of view as well. Many chores, many things that has to happen from outside as well. Okay, so even this, the Buddha said something like, paraphrase, something like this: in these 10 lunar months, the kindness just within this period, even before the baby is so-called born and the cord is cut, that even if you carried your parents on your shoulders around the whole world, 100,000 lifetimes, then you could not pay back even a small amount of this kindness. So, of course, this is an example. Now, this is to help. The Buddha would have said things like this to help encourage us to really appreciate our mother and father. For if we can appreciate our mother and father, and of course ourselves, then we are more likely to be able to easily appreciate and love and care and repay this kindness to all living beings. But if we can't do it at the very basis of the parents, then it's very difficult for us to be kind, to be appreciative of other living beings. There's always going to be something wrong. Even some people, they had difficulties, with their parents. Maybe sometimes the parents made mistakes, maybe a lot of mistakes. But still, we should have the appreciation, even for this period in the womb, as well as the period, I don't know how many years, a few years, where the baby is really helpless, can't walk, can't talk, can't communicate really very well. And then, of course, there's the period after that as well. As a child, of course, the education starts from birth, really. But then there's the formal education of helping the child go through schooling. And then, of course, there's higher education. And then there is, after high school education, such as uni and colleges and things. And so, that there's this, but also at the same time, the parent is helping to not just take care of a child, but to help the child become a good adult. I think that's something that good parents do very, very well. Obviously, it's not just babying the kid all the time, or even the teenager all the time, to help them actually become good adults. The Buddha gave an example, which I'll paraphrase again. You know, like a tree, the acorn drops from the tree. If the acorn drops too close to the tree, then the big tree, the mother tree, will take all of the nutrients. And so there won't be enough nutrients for this acorn to germinate and then to eventually become its own tree. But if the acorn is taken by birds or wind or something, and it's too far away from the protection of the mother tree, it also is most likely will not grow. But if that acorn drops and germinates in the ground just far enough from the tree, from the mother tree, then it's more likely that it will grow into a very healthy tree in itself, with its own acorns. I think you can understand the example here. So if the parent, doesn't care about the kid, that's like the acorn going too far away. If the parents may be irresponsible or whatever. Then, of course, if the parents babying too much, smother love, we call it, smothering too much, then this is like the acorn being too close to the mother tree. It has to be just enough distance, but also still protection. So now let's go back to yourself in respect for your parents, whether they are alive or not, okay? We still need to have this appreciation and respect. It's very, very important. I know that some of you would have read it. If you haven't read it, check my Facebook page for around the Mother's Day. I posted I re-edited, I think about 6 months ago or so, the Filial Piety Sutra, okay? The Buddha's words on repaying the kindness to the mother. Of course, this is dated back at the time of the Buddha, with the traditions and all of the ways of life at that time. But you can see that this also translates into this modern time as well. And so I think it's really important for us to really have this appreciation. Of course, you are your own person as well, but your parents have helped you do this, either with giving you lots of freedom so you can learn the lessons in life for yourself, but also giving you good instruction. Once again, this goes back to the example of the acorn being close enough, but not too close, not too far away from the mother tree. Okay, so I think we can, if we start to do this, then starting with our own mother, really fill our heart with appreciation and kindness, compassion, wanting the mother to be free from suffering and to be happy and to be peaceful. Then you can radiate this outwards. This is why in love and kindness meditation, we start with our loved ones, isn't it? It should be reasonably easier for us to do that. And then, of course, we extend it out to those we don't think too much about, we don't really have any aversion towards or any attachment towards. And then, of course, then we work towards those people we find difficult, and then further and further, okay? So I think really it needs to be done like that. Recently, I spoke to an old friend I hadn't spoken to for a long time, and they are estranged from their parents. Now, their parents were very difficult people, actually, so I hear. But I encouraged maybe now is the time. Yeah, maybe you needed to have that distance, but maybe now is the time, even just a cup of tea or something like that, just to, so that you and also them, they don't feel awkward about the relationship. Because like I said, if we feel awkward with this close relationship, then we're most likely going to feel awkward out in the general public. When we're engaging with others, okay? So that's that one. That's that part of it. But think about how many lifetimes have we had? Until we are very advanced in our practice, maybe this is just an abstract idea, isn't it? That we can come to understand through logical reasoning, through analyzing, investigating and analyzing. Oh, okay, I'm born into this life. Did it just happen? Is it just by chance? Of course not. I think the law of cause and effect, even though we don't understand it on a very subtle level yet, or may not understand it on a subtle level yet, I think on an obvious level, it's really easy to understand. Of course, there's a cause, there's effect. You know, I pick up this mouse. The result is the mouse is picked up. I put down the mouse. The result is the mouse is put down. Cause and effect. Very simple. You requested the Dharma classes to come on Zoom back, 9 months or so ago. So 10 months. Now they're on Zoom. Okay. You asked. I said yes. Then we implemented it together. This is also cause and effect. The law of karma is in play all the time. All of the negative conditions that we have in our lives comes from our karma. We created this in previous lifetimes, as well as in this lifetime as well. All of the good things we experience, we also created that, so rejoice. You can be happy with yourself, All of the neutral conditions, we also created this as well. So go back now, even if it's an abstract idea, previous lifetimes, we also had parents. Do we have the same parents? There's likelihood that we did at different times, but other times would have been other living beings as our parents. We also have been mothers. We also have been fathers. And I would say this, how is that not possible? Rather than us thinking, oh, I'm so skeptical about that, maybe. Actually, how is it not possible? What's the other things? Just happened by chance? Or some sort of superior being did it, like playing chess with us or something? I think I'll give these guys those ones. I'll give those guys these ones. It's not like that. It has to come from the law of karma. I think if you look at, I won't go into other examples just because of the time constraints now, but if you think about the different possibilities of how we came to be born in this life, and use logical reasoning, use common sense when you're investigating and analyzing them, I think you will come to realize that the only way is through cause and effect. Otherwise, it's either nonsensical or it's not fair. That everything, the universe, is fair. As much as there's suffering, we cause the suffering. As much as there's happiness, we cause the happiness. So now think about previous lifetimes before the previous lifetimes that you can think of. Beginningless time, we say. Very hard concept. I posted something on Facebook yesterday, a saying I came up with probably a couple of decades ago, actually, that in fact, I used to think things like this when I was really young. Can't give you an age, but 0 and infinity make more sense to me than all of the complicated numbers in between. You think about that. We like to quantify things, don't we? We like to give it a number or a concept, but actually 0 and infinity, they're the same thing, really, aren't they? So often we think 0 is nothing, and then infinity is limitless. But actually, how can they be different? Now, I'm only using numbers as an example for a very brief teaching for you to think about on what we call emptiness, emptiness of self, okay, and Buddha nature. So now let's think back, beginningless time. It is said in the Buddhist scriptures that all sentient beings have at one stage or another, or sometimes, been our mother. When I first came across these teachings many years ago, I really loved them. And I thought, even if this is not the case, by any chance this is not the case, isn't it a great way to train your mind? To not have bias against those people you find difficult, to not be careless with those that you don't think about, and to not have attachment to those that we may find attractive or love now, or those people that have been kind to us, such as our parents. So think about that. So on this Mother's Day, that's maybe the bigger message, isn't it? Yes, start with your mother now, but also all living beings have been your mother. I remember in a class, I don't know, maybe 12 to 15 years ago, I think some of you I think most of you here today would not have attended that class. It was on a Monday night at Yunyang Temple, and it was commentary on the Heart Sutra. And in the introductory parts, which I think took about 3 classes, I asked the students who looked very skeptical, these 2 students specifically, long-time Buddhists, and I said, how do you feel about the fact that I breastfed you in previous life? And I wasn't trying to be smart, but I was trying to break down barriers, which it did, got some laughs. But think about that. I know that may be a yucky feeling for you, or a yucky thought. I breastfed you. This male person here, who's never had children in his life. Okay, but anyway, think about that. Hopefully that can break down some barriers, using a little bit of humor, which we have to use sometimes. Give yourself some relief on occasions by laughing at yourself. So when I say that, I'm laughing at myself. And so all living beings have at some stage been our mother, or at very least, allow yourself the opportunity to at least think about that, okay? Don't do your head in, don't get confused about it, unless it leads to what we call the great doubt. The great doubt, as I've mentioned before, is a good thing because it will help you to, let go of all of these preconceived ideas that we have, all of these habitual tendencies. Oh, I believe this because this is me, Let go of these things. It will help you do that. And so I did write a couple of notes just in case I forgot, but I've actually spoken about most of them. So we're all interconnected. I think that's an important thing to know. We're all interrelated, interconnected. We've all been each other's mothers. We've all been each other's children. And even now, at this time, we're affecting all of the other living beings, even if it's minute. Some people we're affecting in a big way because we're very close to them. Other beings, they live on the other side of the world or even other parts of the universe. But we still have this interconnection. The Buddha said, in many sutras, but also the Brahmanet Sutra, for instance, it's like a net. He gave the example that the whole universe and beyond is like a net. So that, like if you know a net, this part of the net over here, and that one, the furthest away part from this part, they're connected by the rest of the net. So we're all interconnected like this. The next part, in fact, I'll leave that for now because I've got another 5 minutes to go. And there was another question, and it's related to a quote that I have and also a short article related to that quote. But this one, the question specifically was related to the quote, be proactive, not reactive. Okay, what I mean by that is, it's like, I give this example often. If we're living on the edge of a cliff, to be proactive means don't go on the edge of the cliff. And in fact, build a fence. I often say that the Dharma practice, especially the 4 great efforts, is like the fence. It helps us not to fall into danger. In other words, have unwholesome thoughts and so forth. And so that's like being proactive. And being reactive, we're always reactive. We're reacting to things. We get upset about things. So I think maybe you can have a look at some of the videos in recent times on the commentary on the 5 skandhas. I speak about this quite often, especially related to the 4th skandha of impulsive mental reactions. If we can create, and I'll remind you again, if you can create what I call a buffer zone between our experience and recognizing the experience and the feeling that gives rise to, then reaction, then we're helping ourselves not create the negative karma and continue and reinforce any negative habits that we may have. This is really what I mean by being proactive, not reactive. Another way you could say we have this global pandemic now in many parts of the world at different times, experiencing a lot of sickness, a lot of death, and very unfortunate. But if we, from a point of view of dealing with this pandemic, if we can be more proactive, in other words, take the precautions of wearing masks, cleaning your hands, distancing, not hugging, not kissing, this type of thing, as well as the, don't go and hang out in crowds, shopping centers and things like that, unless you have to, but also keep the distance. If everybody can do that, that's like being proactive. But being reactive means that people get sick because they're not doing these things, and then they have to try to get better, or be proactive in the taking the vaccines if they're safe. Rather than being reactive and once again getting sick and then having to try to get better, or having the guilt that you've spread it to someone else, So that's an example related to the pandemic here and now as well. So be proactive, not reactive, okay? And then you can feel really happy with yourself when you do that, isn't it? It means you've taken responsibility. You're being a leader at that time. And the last one is related to that as well. It's to look after your mind and care for others. Specifically, the question was related to, can we do both? Of course we can. In fact, when we're looking after our mind, part of doing that is being compassionate and loving. And so we are caring for others as we do this. And as we care for others, we are decreasing our self-centeredness. So when we are practicing compassion, to develop compassion, eventually immeasurable compassion, we are also lessening our attachment to the self. Lessening, if you call in modern times, ego, even though that's not really a word that was used in the scriptures, but lessening the ego, lessening the cause of suffering. So you are helping yourself as well as helping others. Okay? So I know that we're under a minute, I think maybe about 40 seconds to go. So as I often finish off the classes with encouraging you to study well. Now, whether this is formal study or every now and then, even coming across a Buddhist quote on something like Facebook or hearing it, then do that well. Then contemplate it, think about it, investigate, analyze, base it on logical reasoning, and see whether you can get to understand it. Once you understand it, absorb your mind with this understanding.